All right, guys, this is Norval Central coming back at you with another YouTube video. And at this time of the recording, I have about 2,070 subscribers. So I really hope and appreciate if you would hit that subscribe button. It's completely free. Try to put out quality FSU content when I can. And I think it's very important that I continue to do this and continue to gain an audience that will be able to continue to watch and listen to me. And I really appreciate all the love and support on my Twitter account, my Instagram account, and every other social media accounts that I have associated with myself. But let's go ahead and get started to the video today. So we got a huge news this morning. It was kind of more expected news, I guess you could say, that Miami fired their offense coordinator, Josh Gaddis. It was pretty much expected. Last year, all the Miami fans were talking about how they got a Broyles Award winner for the best assistant in America. He went over from Michigan over to Miami. The experiment didn't really go that well. 5-7 season, didn't really play like they were supposed to play. And next thing you know, he's out the door. Already past the early signing period at this point. You're getting closer to that later signing period. You've lost a couple of guys, but not necessarily because of him. But it is something noteworthy to think about because you got a 24 kid who I think is going to be a high priority for Miami. And it's also a high priority for Florida State in terms of just his recruitment. Now, you're looking at Josiah Trader. He's actually from Chaminade, a school that Edwin Joseph had actually went to. He's committed to Florida State at this point, a four-star athlete, going to be playing at DB over on that side of the ball. But Trader is more of a wide receiver, and you're starting to think about the distances between where his high school is to Miami. It's about 40 minutes, and then you go from the distance to his high school from Tallahassee is about 7 hours. So that's a huge driving distance, especially proximity to home, family, everything like that. What I thought was pretty interesting was a couple of months ago, or a couple of weeks ago, excuse me, he visited Florida State. He said that Florida State was basically in his top 2 schools list. They were very high on his list. Next thing you know, you get a crystal ball prediction from Steve Wilfong from 247 Sports with a crystal ball prediction going to Miami with a confidence level of 6 out of 10. That starts to get Florida State fans pretty worried. Now, while his primary recruiter technically on the website is DeMarcus Van Dyke, which is a DB's coach, but we'll kind of figure out where this is going to be. I mean, we know Florida State wants him as a receiver. Ron Dugans has been pretty vocal about that. Florida State's already got 2 wide receivers committed to the class in TJ Abrams and also Camden Fryer. So they're wanting to get a third and possibly even a 4th receiver into this class. Now, will that offensive coordinator change, depending on who it is for Miami? Will that go against them and get in favor of Florida State? Now, when I immediately saw this crystal ball prediction from Wilfong, I know that he has a pretty good track record of being able to develop these crystal balls and getting those right for most of the time because he has a lot of insight on most of these recruits that are around the South Florida area and other areas as well. But you have to look at it in the hindsight too, because he's not going to be signing until December. A lot of things can happen during the season at this point. Now, he could just be destined to say, okay, it's only 40 minutes from my house at this point, and I just want to go play for Miami. It's an easier drive for my family and everything else. But on the other hand, too, if Miami struggles again, let's just say Florida State beats them by 2 touchdowns, 3 touchdowns, or even more at that point. I mean, considering we did beat them by 42 points last year, what kind of impact does that play on Florida State going forward there? That's why I always tell people don't really worry about recruiting as of right now because a lot of things change throughout the process. Now, everything can kind of run smoothly and he can commit to Miami and never go over again. But at this point, kids want to see their options. They want to understand and understand and go through the process and look at all these other schools and kind of see what's going on. And when you kind of eliminate that from their forte, I guess you could say, kind of like a Dabo Swinney, I guess, whenever they're committed, they can't really visit other places and it's kind of frowned upon. Florida State actually does the opposite. Now, they want them to be pretty transparent whenever they visit other schools. But at the same time, when you have a talent like Trader, and he's a 5-star prospect, one of the top 25 prospects in the country in the class of 24. And it's something that you can really hang your hat on. I mean, I talked about before in my other video that Charles Lester, a 5-star cornerback out of Sarasota, is a guy that Florida State's really, really going after. I think he's their number 1 target. Now, I think Trader is their number 3. I think Cromanhawk is their number 2, of course, because I think as a quarterback, you have to be that kind of guy there. But just kind of looking at Trader as a whole, I think he can be your guy because he's a 6'1.5", 170-pound receiver. I think he develops more into that frame. I think it could be a guy that can be really, really special, can high point the football very well, and can also play a little bit on the defensive back side of things if they need to. So I think it's very important to be able to get him in. His versatility is very, very special in my eyes. But I know Florida State's going to do a really good job there. And I think that the narrative, especially with Ron Dugans, has really changed among Tallahassee and Florida State fans in general. So I really think that Florida State's got a really good shot here, even though he may commit to Miami in the next week, week and a half, what have you. But I do think that recruiting is a fluctuant game. We have to figure out what's going on with everything else. But maybe he comes in for the spring game. Maybe you change a little bit more priorities. Maybe Florida State goes and wins 11 games, 12 games next year in the regular season. And then next thing you know, it changes his mind and you're in the running for a lot of these highly touted prospects. But it's all about continuing to recruit at a high level. Don't give up just because of a crystal ball to Miami. I think this is a long way to go in this recruitment. But like I said, even if he does commit tomorrow, let's just say, for example, I think Florida State is still going to be in a good position to be able to continue to recruit at him and hopefully be able to flip his services if he were to go to Miami. But I really appreciate all the love and support so far. Please be sure to hit the like button. Comment your thoughts on what you think about Trader. Do you think he's going to go to Miami and stick with Miami? Do you think you may commit to Miami and still look around? Do you think Florida State still has a good position? What are your guys' thoughts on the topic so far today? And I really appreciate all the love and support as always. And go Noles.